is really responsible for fine, okay? So what I see here is that you will
Wala, full blast na nako. Wala, kamay mo ginana po. Diyan na lang sa Everything is too slow right now. Need to configure this again because it looks so dark. I make it too bright. Like a huge lag. Okay, so we're live. Actually, I think that's fine, but it looks darker than it should. Basically 220 brightness right now. I don't know if it's just the phone or the stream. Doesn't even look right anymore. 100 brightness. I go back down to normal. It looks dark. What am I supposed to do here? $160. 180. For sure, like blow out everything. Not even fun. Can't have that. Play with the brightness here. 190. Just stick with that. There you go. Get the picture. Okay. So basically, what we talked about last night, yesterday, was about using raw umber, mm, red ochre, right, and white. I'm using just lead white here just to experiment. And what I'm gonna do is try to make this area more red. Now, if you want to adjust your skin tone to make it more like saturated, then you're gonna have to use less desaturated paints like uh, vermilions and stuff. This one is aimed at, for experiment. I just wanted to make things look more saturated without going too far. So like here I've added more just red ochres because there's already like it's already raw umber beneath it, right? And some white. So what happens is it's gonna cover it, but not totally, right? There's going to be the influence of the raw umber there. And here to darken this area here, you want to add a little bit of raw umber there. And then red ochre. So it still retains that redness, right? But without, going too far. The greens, that's going to like separate the color. Here I've added like too much, I think. I'm just gonna layer on more red ochre there to make it a little more warm or red, right? And that's essentially going to mix in my raw umber there below. Yeah. So basically, this is another layer of color because the first one was a little bit sketchy. There's has the feeling of being a sketch like a crayon. So by adding more layers, you can achieve more solid colors, look more cleaner. But still, we don't want to. I don't want to make it too clean. And risk, making things look too digital. I really like the, natural effect of the fingerprints you're doing, right? Inconsistencies. It doesn't have to be like deliberately wild. Sometimes I think that's what impressionist artists want. Impressionists want to show like wanna like exaggerate the brushstrokes because they like it. They like to see the imperfect human touch. I think at that time there was already like photography at that time. And before that, the clean digital look was the goal. Everybody's like wanting to make that. Then here comes camera. Everything started to change. Artists, most artists, we don't like to just be somebody else, shadow somebody else. We want to express ourselves fully. But you know, sometimes that can get in the way. What if your style is like similar to somebody else and that's your expression, and then you try hard to get away from it because that guy already exists, and you know it kind of mess you up. I think the best way there is to just, you know, paint and watch what comes out, and then, you know, you will naturally just move towards who you are. The more authentic you are, the more honest you are to yourself, the more you're gonna move to a place where, you know, what suits you really. The more you become authentic and clear. It's like filtering something, right? It's like shaping something, just like a painting here. More we are, you know, in tune with our higher version, higher self. There's also this effect that, oh, everything is so loud right now. Also this effect that you might want to try, and that is creating a sudden saturated break the corners of shadows here. From here, you create like a saturated break there. And I create this amazing, like wonderful vibrancy people are looking for. Because what's happening there is you're saying that this part of the skin is uh, allowing light to pass through it. So I just ordered my uh, lead carbonate. I was making my own for a few years now, and I wasn't satisfied with it. So I just bought a technical grade lead carbonate, and even that has its own issues. So look at this, like some granules exist there. You know, it's different when compared to titanium white. It's very subtle, the way the color reacts. Very subtle. The change is, the difference is very subtle, but it's there. The colors seem cleaner compared to titanium white. But then again, there's a use for titanium white, right? If you want to create a cooler area, you can use titanium white because it's basically like a super light cyan. Titanium white is basically like a cyan that is so light, right? Or a sky blue that is so light, like almost 5%. Oh no, not even 5%, like 2% blue. And lead white kind of looks like this, which white is that? Zinc white. Zinc white is also called, you know, the way that zinc white mixes with your paint a little bit similar to this, but lead white is a little bit more opaque than the zinc white. I have like zinc white powder here. And I also have a titanium white powder, so without all the fillers affecting them, I can tell. I was able to experiment and see the difference. And now that I have lead white, really close to zinc titanium white. I don't know. I don't know. I need to do some more research about zinc white because they say that zinc white, when mixed with paint, makes the paint like more fragile and cracked because it when it hardens or when it like settles into when the medium set dries, when the call it, when the linseed oil dries, it dries to a flexible film, right? But then the zinc white would cause, I don't know what's happening there. I still need to do some research on that. They're saying is that it kind of makes the film like fragile, but I'm not too sure about that. I don't have information about that. I have solid information. Maybe if you mix in zinc white with some carbon, sodium carbonate, uh, marble dust, like calcium carbonate, maybe that's going to make it a little more solid, less brittle. But I don't know. I don't know what's happening there. Why it even becomes brittle. So to speak. I don't know what's going on with that. But I can tell that, lead white, the texture of lead white is, it's like calcium carbonate. It's stringy. So, you can turn it into paint, the calcium carbonate, you can turn it into paint, but it's going to be like super transparent. Not that transparent, but the issue with it is when it dries, it's not an issue really. You can use it to an advantage again. When it dries, it becomes this super absorbent, uh, becomes really absorbent. You can use that to your advantage, I mean. You want to like make an area absorbent. Basically red ochre here. You don't have to mix a lot of, you don't have to like desaturate a lot of your reds and yellows. So by using the by using our raw umber here, which is basically yellow, dark yellow, we can use that to, desaturate our reds even more. And if you add yellow ochre to your raw umber, that's gonna bring it up to the light while adding more color to it, more yellow, more saturation to it, but not too much, like not like added actual like cadmium yellow to it. It's gonna be different. Instead of using black to make a dark area here, just mix a little bit of, raw umber to it, maybe some yellow ochre. If you use burnt umber, that's going to be too warm because burnt umber is basically orange, a dark orange, and it's a little more warm to the eyes. Gives off the feeling of warmth. Doesn't feel neutral, it feels warm and alive. You can use that to, if I put it here, right, the burnt umber, it's gonna make the surface there look like it's glowing a little bit. That could be something that you can use. So here when I painted more, like I added too much red there, right? So what I did was mix a little bit of a lighter umber with white, and then just mix it on the palette, on the canvas there. That's one way to paint, mix on the canvas. There's a brush stroke of really warm red here that I placed before. I'll bring up the camera closer so you can see it. one should be soft edge here because it's graduating up there. Let me fix that first. So another tip there is when you paint, like when you mix on your palette, right? When you mix on your palette, you're kind of trying to find either the exact color that you want to be on here. But if you do that and there's already color here, you're gonna have to paint more thickly, right? Another approach is to mix something here depending on what's already here. Like if I have too much red here, I'm just gonna mix something lighter and more yellower, for example, and then just pick up a small amount of that, right? And then when I paint it here, it's gonna even that out. It's gonna come to the level that I wanted because it's gonna mix there, right? So that's one I don't know if it's a technique or it's an approach to painting. Actually, it's a part of the process for me, at least, that I didn't know existed before. So if you want to practice that, like go ahead and paint like fruits or even imaginary things like spheres and stuff, like a red sphere or a yellow sphere. Then just try to make it as round as you can with reference, of course. Then that's gonna help you like understand with keeping having in mind the trying to understand what's happening on the palette and here, right? So basically we're just trying to mix on the canvas, and while trying to achieve a certain value, hue or saturation there, we're gonna use what we have here and what we have here to just adjust them, right? But it's not that complicated really, because you can only paint like either it's a red, it's a yellow, or it's a blue, right? Green is basically just a mix of yellow and blue, and depending on the type of green, it's going to be like more blue or more yellow. Let me put the camera closer. Hopefully you can see the red here. So my point is to show you that having stuff like this, like that's visible in the camera, if there's like this in live here, actually this red here, that a stroke here, it's very saturated. It's not visible in the camera, unfortunately. Not visible in the webcam. Basically having strokes like that, like you can do that later on after your painting. It's gonna help you like make your paintings more lively and less even, right? Less cartoony or has texture, right? And you know, for me at least, I like texture. Unintentional ones or intentional ones, it doesn't matter. And some people might call it dirty. But to me, dirty is really just like if I desaturate this area too much and it doesn't like doesn't work with the context of the environment, the colors around it, it's gonna look dirty because our brains are gonna interpret it as mud or dirt that's on her skin, because we kind automatically adjust our perception. We've seen faces too much, and we've seen faces with dirt too much, that when something here is saturated and it doesn't fit the coloration of the skin, it's gonna look, of course it's gonna look, we're gonna interpret it as something that's on the face, not a part of the skin of the face, right? So it's like an unintentional dirt that we painted on the face. And that's also true with like powdery, what they call a powdery face, a powdery like paint. Like it kind of looks like the face is powdered, because that's actually what you're painting when you put too much desaturated color at a high value light color, but not the color that's on the white is desaturated, and then it's too much white, so it doesn't have the color, the context of the whiteness here, for example, would be too much compared to what's actually, how it would actually look if there was no powder there. So we're actually painting a powdered face at that point. If you're gonna paint like let's say a person, a clown, let's say you want to paint a clown with heavy makeup on it, her or his face, then having something like this would work. Like when it turns to the shadow, there's still white there. So when it turns, like for example this hard edge here, right, it's gonna be white there instead of just more color there. It's going to be more white there. It's gonna look like that surface is actually have powder. On it. And it also goes with the shadow. Your shadow has too much white, like for example here, if I put too much white here, it's gonna look like there's something on there, like maybe some glazing powder or a donut or something. Some artists don't like Romber. It makes their work dirty, but it's just a matter of how much you apply, how much of it you use. Especially if you bring it to the light, do add yellow ochre to it. So if it's just Romber, it's just gonna be gray, just gonna look blue. But sometimes you want that, right? that can be useful too. Depends on what you want to show. Here I'm just lightly touching this stuff. I have like a light color here. Not too light, of course. Lightly touching that area will kind of bring it to the light more. Titanium white here just to make that show you how strong titanium white is. Even mixed with the same amount of pigments, titanium white is just gonna cover everything. It has a different effect, like the color doesn't shine through too much. It's barely, so you can still mix the right saturation that you want. It's just a different amount. Different amount of pigment. It's just the same. It looks more natural, right? Like you see the red, how it turns here, turns desaturated, and that's because of the raw umber. It's not really blue, it's yellow. A desaturated yellow. So to practice, you can like use uh, digital painting and do layering instead of using like simulate layering over there. You'll understand how colors interact. Not really that magical. The more of that color pigment you placed on it in digital painting, it's gonna cover it eventually. And same goes with here with paint. Even if it's a transparent pigment, the more of that pigment that I placed on there, it's gonna look fully saturated version of that paint is gonna appear there. Oh, not saturation, amount of color that's on there. Red ochre is actually not transparent, not a transparent color. But you use little of it. It kind of turns into this semi-transparent. That's where zinc white or lead white comes in very useful. And you start layering more and more color. If you use titanium, it's gonna cover color below. That's good. It depends on the situation, really. Depends on what you want to achieve. You slightly want to turn a certain color around. And that's what's missing. What's missing in our paintings today. Like when you compare it to the paintings of Sargent and stuff and people, they're layering colors using a semi-transparent paint. So even if they painted in alla prima, it's not gonna look the same because they're white. It's gonna mix with paint with the colors below in such a way that it's not too intrusive to the color below. It doesn't cover it as much as titanium white would, and that's gonna create a different effect compared to what we have right now. We can work around that, right? We can always work around that. I'm pretty satisfied and I'm pretty happy with the lead white that I made here. So what I did is use linseed oil and then stand oil to stabilize the paint. Because without stand oil, it's gonna separate too much. I just add stand oil there. Stand oil, it's a little bit pure. To cover that because this area here has bumps from dust and dirt. I'll have to cover that. It's gonna look weird with that. So these bumps here. If I use pure white here, then use that spread it out like this, right? Either it's gonna look like a reflection of the light or it's actually gonna look like powder on the face. If I spread that out too much, it's not gonna look like a reflection anymore, and it's gonna look more like some things on there. Shouldn't be there. It's not part of the skin, like something on top of the skin. And that's what I wanted to talk about too. Like, we are so used to looking at videos and images right now that have powdered faces, basically. That, when you look at old videos and photos of people, you can actually see the glow in their skin. It looks so alive and tasty, like, looks real, it looks alive compared to what we're seeing right now. You watch like VHS, old movies, um, in full color, right? You're gonna see the reds and pinks in their faces. They look more natural. Don't have too much makeup on. And that's kind of messing up people's minds right now, because we think that a natural face is actually that has this powdery quality to it, and when we paint, we kind of refuse the vibrancy. We kind of make it look like there's powder on it, because powder hides the vibrant warmth and uh, of our skin. Kind of, it kind of makes it dull, to the point that we kind of don't we can't distinguish that this face is actually caked with a lot of makeup. Because it's become so normalized. We're so used to looking at it that kind of accepted that that's how skin looks like. But when we look at ourselves in the mirror, we kind of adjust our view, our vision, and we kind of ignore the reds. It's actually there, but there's actually so much reds, patches of warmth that's in there. I don't know. For me, it's really nice to see all of those warmth that are kind of lost from our film cameras right now. Our cameras look artificial, and it doesn't have that effect. Right? Things look reds become more reds are actually more prevalent. The shadows are the midtones are actually more enhanced. The warmth level We can adjust that in our phones right now. We can bring out the warmth more. Phone photo editors. Right? And just look at it, just look at how much more beautiful that looks. The warmth that's there. Now we're painting stuff more to how would I say it? Like too artificial, maybe. There's a haze of like the glazing comes in. Because when you're glazing, it kind of retains the color of the paint is retained, and it's not mixed with the white, so it's not being dulled down by the white. There's still the same amount of pigment, but it's not mixed in with the white, such that the light would not be interfered when it bounces off the pigment. If it has white like this, the light would be like, sometimes the red would be beneath the white or beside the white pigment, and it's gonna look different. So some people dislike the glazing effect, but it's really actually, so for me it's beautiful. The colors are much more true. Doesn't maybe doesn't look real to some, but that's how we actually, in our subconscious, like, we know that people are glow. Actually, they glow ever so slightly when you compare. People are actually glowing. If you look closely, next time when you go out on a bus or in a mall, just look at people, but they actually glow. Especially with healthy skin and without makeup, it's you kind of see the glow. You can see it more. Wonderful. See, it looks amazing, actually. And when you paint that, it just portions of areas of the face, just add a little bit of pure color there. It's gonna look amazing. One is to tone it down a little bit, and by doing so, I added more color first and then lighting it up. It kind of gives this feeling. A small color there. Let me get some reds. I'll show you what I mean. Let me get red here. Wait. And maybe we'll add the red here, right? In the nose here. We'll burn that with saturated red. And let's see how it looks. That area is supposed to be in shadow, right? So I'm gonna find a relative value. A value that is the same, but red is basically like value 5. So we're safe there. Problem is, can't find my red paint. I don't use a lot of reds, honestly. Okay, let's get this Paul Rubens red. It's PR48. It's a transparent paint. Get a little of it, so this is what it looks like. Blood red color. Put it down there. This is what it looks like. It's so warm, right? Maybe it's too warm. Start small, start thin. Ah, it's a little bit purplish. Not orangey. I think that's fine. Let's just try it out, right? That's too much. And it's purpley, so be careful here. That look better. Very apart here a little bit, just to make it. Or unified with the rest of in. That's the camera there. Hit the angle of the canvas. Her face doesn't look too weird. I need a better camera stand. No, whatever. Right there. Kinda looks dark in the camera. The contrast, maybe. Cut it out like that. things a little bit. Warm there. Here. Gonna create that burning color effect there. Yeah. Desaturated color. Lighter color, just to, you know. Subtract too much. The warmth is there, right? Warmth. Yeah. And then you can add some more here. Above. It more medium maybe. Don't make it too much red, but I want to keep the paint because it's gonna mix down to the paint that's already there below. Yeah. Yep. And you know, if you like desaturate the shadows here, it's gonna be an error. It's gonna cause your brain to malfunction, to protest. You know, because if it's warm here, meaning the light is passing through it, right? So it's gonna be glowing with that red. So it's kind of like having like your hand put a flashlight on it, and you put it beside a white paper. It's gonna look red, right? So it means what's happening here is that light is passing through it, making it glow, and so that glowing red is gonna color this shadow here. So if I make it desaturated, it's gonna look dirty, coat with flying coats, right? That's what the effect actually. That creates that effect, like a dirty skin. Again, going back to what I said earlier, gonna make us think like there's something there that's blocking the light. It's actually not skin. Yeah, so by adding this type of things like sudden saturations in certain areas, it's gonna give you like a wonderful effect. Yeah. If I couple it with the cool light here, let's use this gray white, basically titanium white. Ooh, it's dried up. Anyway, let's just try it. It's going to be cold light there. Reflection. Reflected on her face there. Yes, it looks nice. Here, let's soften that zone there. As it kind of looks like it's fading out there. That's gonna add like more excitement, like energy to your painting. Having this sudden saturations everywhere. It doesn't have to be. You can go like wild on that. You can make it like part of your expressive language, or just make things more alive. Okay, so I guess this is pretty much a nice job, and everything looks great. About the other paintings, I'm still trying to make dry them out thoroughly. Don't encounter much problem, and the other day I was testing it out and it's still wet, so can't really work on that, or it's gonna peel off while I'm trying to glaze, and that's gonna make it look antique, broken, and irregular, or and you guys don't like that, right? You guys want something perfect. When you see someone like fumble, like most people, when they see someone fail or not achieve the quality that they used to make, they kind of just latch onto that. It's weird. It's a weird human trait. But me, I try to avoid that because, wisdom can come from within you through stimulation. You want to keep stimulated by knowledge. You want to keep being stimulated by knowledge. Full knowledge, of course. What is useful, right? It's something that inspires you, makes you think. Yeah, it kind of looks dark. Look at my phone right now from live. It kind of looks dark. I think it's fine. You can see some areas here still yellow. I wanna keep that yellowish there because of the glasses, right? So I wanna keep it yellowish. So I guess that's it for me for now. And I hope that's going to be useful for you guys. So have fun and take care. Take care. Bye.